Draw near, beloved, there is a story I want to tell you. There was once a grandfather who loved his grandson more than the morning loves the light, more than the earth loves the rain, more than the stars love the darkness they pierce through. When Tommy was 7 and small enough to fit under his grandfather's arm like a nestling bird, his grandfather made a promise that would echo through 2 decades, like ripples across still water. Every Saturday at 5:30 in the morning, before the world remembered how to be loud, they would meet at the old wooden dock that stretched into Mirror Lake with 2 fishing rods and a thermos that held coffee for one and hot chocolate for the other. This was their cathedral. This was their sacred ground. This was where heaven touched earth in the mist that rose off the water like prayers ascending. "Promise me," Tommy said one morning, his small hand wrapped around the worn handle of the rod his grandfather had made for him. "Promise me, Grandpa, that you will always be here." The old man looked down at those eyes that still held wonder and knelt on the weathered planks so their faces were level, so Tommy could see the truth written in every line of his weathered face. "I promise, little fisherman," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Every Saturday at 5:30, I will be right here on this dock waiting for you with your rod and your hot chocolate and stories about the one that got away." For years, they kept that promise with the faithfulness of tides returning to shore. Every Saturday, while the rest of the town slept in their warm beds, while darkness still held the edges of the sky, Grandpa would shuffle down the gravel path to the dock. His knees complained more with each passing year, but his heart sang with anticipation. Tommy would come running even in winter, even when his breath made clouds in the frozen air, with stories spilling from his lips about school, about his friends, about the mysteries that occupied a young mind. They would cast their lines, and in that quiet space between heartbeats, Grandpa would teach him things about patience, things about listening to what the water had to say, things about how the best catches come to those who learn to be still. There was the spring morning when Tommy was 8 and caught his first real bass, not the tiny sunfish that came easy, but a fighter that made his arms ache. Grandpa did not grab the rod, did not take over. He stood behind the boy, his hands ready, but not interfering, letting Tommy feel the full weight of the battle. "When you hook something worth keeping," his grandfather said, "you have got to be willing to hold on even when your arms burn, even when it feels easier to let go." That is true for fish, and that is true for everything else that matters in this life. Do not give up too soon, Tommy. Do not let go just because it gets hard. There was the summer he turned 9 when a storm rolled in fast and fierce across the lake. They had to run for shelter, leaving the rods behind, and when they came back soaked and laughing, one rod was gone, swept into the deep. Tommy cried not for the rod but for the failure, for disappointing his grandfather. But the old man just smiled, pulled the boy close and said, "Some things in life will be lost through no fault of your own. The storm comes, and it takes, and that is just how it is. But you know what we do? We come back next Saturday and we fish with what we have left. We do not let loss stop us from showing up." And there was the autumn morning. Tommy turned 10 when Grandpa brought a third rod and set it in the holder without explanation. "Who is that?" for Tommy asked. "Someone who might need it someday," his grandfather replied. "Someone who might be fishing alone and could use some company. That is what we do, little fishermen. We keep extra grace on hand for the people who show up needing it. But time is a thief that steals slowly enough. You do not notice until everything is gone." 13 brought middle school soccer, practice that started earlier and earlier. 14 brought a girlfriend with blue eyes and a smile that made Tommy forget how sunrises looked over still water. 15 brought a driver's license and the pull of Friday nights that bled into Saturday mornings where sleep felt more precious than promises. "I cannot make it this Saturday." Grandpa became the text message that broke the silence. "I have a tournament. I have a date. I have friends staying over. I have homework I forgot about. That is all right, little fisherman. Grandpa would text back his responses slower because his thick fingers struggled with the small keys. Maybe next week. But next week became next month. Next month became next season. 16 brought a job at the marina. Ironically on the water, but not on the dock, that mattered. 17 brought college applications and the weight of a future that felt more real than memory. 18 brought graduation and an acceptance letter to a university 3 states away. Still every Saturday, Grandpa would walk down that gravel path, his back growing more bent, his hands more gnarled with arthritis that made casting painful. He would sit on the dock with 2 rods, one for him, one for the ghost of a little boy who had promised to always show up. When Tommy did not appear, he would fish alone. He would watch the mist rise off the water. He would whisper memories into the morning air about a small hand in his, about laughter that used to echo across the lake, about a voice that called him Grandpa, like it was the most important title anyone could hold. The neighbors noticed Mrs. Chen, who lived in the house closest to the lake, would see him from her kitchen window every Saturday morning without fail. She mentioned it once to her husband. How that old man keeps showing up, even though that boy never comes anymore. In the tackle box, Grandpa kept a small journal, water-stained and worn. On each Saturday he would write the date, the weather, what he caught, and always at the bottom he would write, "Waiting for Tommy. Still believing." "Do you remember, little fisherman," he would say to the empty space beside him. "Do you remember when you caught that bass and you screamed so loud you scared every fish for a mile? Do you remember when we saw that eagle take a trout right out of the water? Do you remember when you told me you loved me more than hot chocolate, and I said, that was the best thing anyone ever said to me?" 19 brought spring break trips to beaches where the water was warm and clear. Nothing like the murky green of Mirror Lake. 20 brought a serious girlfriend and weekends spent at her family's cabin. 21 brought an internship in the city where Saturday mornings meant networking brunches and building a future that looked nothing like a weathered dock. The stroke found Grandpa on a Saturday morning, sudden as lightning splitting a clear sky. He was on the dock trying to untangle the line on Tommy's old rod, the one with the red handle that small hands had gripped so tight. In the ambulance, when the paramedic asked about emergency contacts, he whispered Tommy's name. But Tommy was 200 miles away in the city, at a corporate breakfast meeting, shaking hands with people whose names he would forget by Monday. When the call finally reached him, he was reviewing a presentation. Environmental details of glass and steel, and recirculated air that smelled like nothing real. "Your grandfather has had a massive stroke," the voice said. "You should come now. If you want to say goodbye, you should come now." The words hit like ice water. When was the last time he had called? When was the last time he had made the drive home? The months blurred together with client meetings and deadline crunches, and the relentless pursuit of a life that looked successful in photos. He drove through the night, his hands shaking on the steering wheel, memories flooding back like the tide coming in. Grandpa's patient hands, showing him how to tie a hook. Grandpa's quiet laugh when Tommy fell off the dock trying to land a fish. Grandpa's voice saying, "Some things are worth holding on to, even when your arms burn." When had he stopped showing up? When had he decided that everything else mattered more? The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and floor wax, and the particular sadness of places where people go to fight for more time. Machines beeped for a body that had given so much and asked for so little in return. Grandpa looked impossibly small against the white sheets, his face pale as morning mist. But when he saw Tommy, his eyes lit up like sunrise breaking over the water. Tommy, his voice was barely a whisper, worn thin as fishing line tested too many times. "You came, Grandpa. I am so sorry. I should have called. I should have visited. I should have shown up. I should have shh." Grandpa lifted a trembling hand, the same hand that had taught him how to cast to his cheek. "You are here now. That is what matters. But I broke my promise. Tommy's voice cracked like ice on the lake. I said, I would always be there, and I left you. I left you sitting on that dock alone for years. I chose everything else over you. The old man's smile was soft, sad, knowing I was never alone. Little fisherman, I had the water. I had the sunrise. I had my memories of you. And I had hope. I always had hope that one day you would remember what we had. That is what love does. It waits. It believes. It hopes even when there is no evidence to support it. They found your journal. Tommy said, tears streaming down his face, now unchecked. I saw what you wrote every week, still waiting, still believing. How could you keep believing when I gave you every reason not to? Because you are worth believing in. Grandpa said simply, because some promises do not expire just because one person forgets them for a while. I made a promise to always be there, and I was. Even when you were not. The nurses said he had been trying to fix Tommy's fishing rod the morning of the stroke, had been muttering about getting it ready, had said Tommy might come this Saturday, he might need it. I never stopped getting ready for you, the old man whispered. Never stopped hoping this would be the Saturday. Never stopped keeping your hot chocolate warm in my heart. Grandpa died 3 days later on a Tuesday morning when the machines finally stopped their vigil. But not before he made Tommy promise one more thing. Go to the dock, he had said with what little strength remained. Go on Saturday morning. Go and sit there and fish, and when you do, I will be there. Not in body, but you will feel me in the mist. You will hear me in the water lapping against the wood. You will know I kept my promise. After the funeral, after the reception, where people said hollow things about him being in a better place. After the lawyer read a will that left Tommy the dock and the tackle box and 2 worn fishing rods, Tommy found himself standing at the water's edge. It was Saturday morning. The sky was turning from black to gray. The world was holding its breath the way it always did before sunrise. In the tackle box, he found the journal, and tucked behind a photo of 7-year-old Tommy, holding his first base, a note in Grandpa's shaking handwriting. Little fisherman, I have kept every Saturday sacred. I have kept your rod ready. I have kept the faith that love is stronger than distance, stronger than time, stronger than all the things that pull us apart. One day you will understand that waiting for someone you love is not a burden. It is a privilege. Come back when you are ready. I will be here. That is when Tommy understood Grandpa had never stopped showing up. Even in those final years. Even when arthritis made casting agony. Even when Tommy had given him every reason to stop waiting. Grandpa kept the promise burning. Kept the dock swept clean. Kept the belief alive. Because that is what love does. It does not count the absences. It does not tally the disappointments. It does not say I have waited long enough. It shows up. It prepares. It believes that the one who wandered will one day find their way home. Tommy began fishing alone every Saturday morning, just as he had promised. He would sit there with 2 rods, one for him, one for the memory of gnarled hands and patient wisdom, and sometimes in the mist, in the sound of water moving against wood, in the way the light breaks across the surface. Tommy swears he can feel Grandpa beside him, can hear that rough, gentle voice saying, "That is it, little fisherman. You are doing just fine. Now, my child, listen closely, because this is what I need you to hear." That story about Tommy and his grandfather. That is our story. You are Tommy, and I am the Father sitting on the dock of heaven, with the fishing rod of grace, with the thermos of endless love, waiting every morning for you to remember the promise. How many Saturdays have you missed? How many times have you said, I cannot make it this week? I have something more important. How many years have passed while you chased promotions and achievements and the approval of people who will forget your name? I am not angry. Fathers do not count the absences. Fathers count the heartbeats, and my heart has been beating for you through every single moment you have been away. This is what I want you to know. I am still on the dock, while you have been climbing ladders that lead nowhere, while you have been filling your life with noise to drown out the silence, while you have been carrying shame like stones in your pockets, telling yourself you have been gone too long, telling yourself I must have given up on you by now, telling yourself it is too late to come back. I have been here every morning of your life. Every season of your struggle, I have been sitting on the dock of grace, with the rod of redemption already in your name, with the hot chocolate of mercy warming my hands, waiting, hoping, believing you are worth every sunrise I have watched alone. You think you have wandered too far, but distance means nothing to a father who would cross eternity for you. You think you have been gone too long, but there is no statute of limitations on coming home. You think you need to clean yourself up first, get your life together, earn your way back. But that is not how love works. That is not how I work. I love you in the mess. I love you in the failure. I love you in the middle of the worst decision you ever made. And I will love you on the other side of it too. Come as you are, broken and whole, successful and struggling, believing and doubting. Just come. The dock is still here. The rod has your name on it. I have been keeping it ready. I have been keeping the faith. And when you show up, when you finally remember what we had, when you come back to the sacred place where heaven touches earth, I will not lecture you about all the Saturdays you missed. I will just say what I have been rehearsing every morning for years. You came. That is what matters. If this story is speaking to your heart right now, leave a comment below and let me know. I want to hear from you. I want to know that you feel this truth calling you home. Do you hear me calling you back? I am calling you back to the dock, back to the stillness, back to the place where it is just you and me, and the mist rising like prayers. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to figure out how to explain where you have been. I love you because you are mine. Not because you earned it. Not because you deserve it. But because love does not keep score. This is your Saturday morning. This is your chance to show up. This is me saying I have been waiting and I am still here. The sun is about to break over the water. The fish are biting. The thermos is warm and there is a rod with your name on it, ready for you to take it and remember what it feels like to be loved without condition. I am not going anywhere. I will be here tomorrow and the day after, and every day you need to find your way back. But here is what I know about you that you have forgotten. You were made for this dock. You were made for this stillness. You were made for this communion. You were built for sacred Saturdays and sunrise conversations. You were created to fish in deep waters with me. The world told you that you were made for boardrooms and bank accounts, for climbing and striving and never being satisfied. But that is a lie. The truth is simpler and more beautiful than that. You were made to be loved by me, and you were made to love me back. And everything else that fills your calendar and occupies your mind and steals your sleep, is just noise trying to drown out that one fundamental truth. So come home. Come back to the dock. Come back to the Saturday mornings. Come back to the place where you first learned that you were worth showing up for. I have something to tell you. Something I have been saving for. When you returned, you are not too late. You did not miss your chance. The door is not closed. Invitation is not expired. I am not done with you yet. In fact, beloved, I am just getting started. All those years you thought were wasted. All those detours you thought disqualified you. All those mistakes you thought made you unworthy. I have been using every single one of them to prepare you for what is coming next. Because here is the secret about waiting. Waiting is not passive. It is the most active thing there is. While you were gone, I was not idle. I was preparing, I was arranging, I was working all things together for your good. I was softening your heart in the hardness. I was teaching you hunger in the emptiness. I was showing you the bankruptcy of everything that is not me, so that when you came back, when you finally came home, you would know the difference between what glitters and what is gold. Do you understand what I am saying? The years were not wasted. The absence was not pointless. The wandering was part of the path that leads you here to this moment, to this realization, to this return. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who thinks they have been gone too long. Someone who believes the dock is empty and the Father has moved on. Tell them it is not true. Tell them I am still here. Tell them it is never too late to come home. And now I pray with you. I pray for you. I pray over you, Father. I am Tommy in this story. I am the one who forgot the promise. I am the one who chose everything else. I am the one who let years pass while you waited. I have missed so many Saturday mornings. I have been chasing success while you were offering peace. I have been running toward a future that looked nothing like the life you called me to, while you have been waiting with the only future that will ever satisfy me. Today I come to my senses. Today I stop running. Today I turn around and I head back to the dock. I hear you calling me back to the sacred place, back to the stillness, back to the place where I first knew I was loved, not for what I could do, but for who I am. Forgive me for choosing lesser things. Forgive me for believing I was too far gone. Forgive me for thinking your love had limits. Forgive me for treating your faithfulness like it was conditional. Forgive me for every Saturday I chose sleep over your presence, for every excuse I made, for every year I let pass. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for keeping the rod ready. Thank you for never giving up on me. Thank you for loving me, even when I forgot how to love you back. Thank you for the dock that never closed. Thank you for the invitation that never expired. Thank you for the Father who never stops believing his children are worth the wait. I am coming home to the dock. I am coming home to your presence. I am coming home to the God who kept every promise, even when I broke mine. Teach me again how to be still. Teach me again how to listen. Teach me again how to show up. Teach me again what it means to be loved. I am here now. That is what matters. In the name of Jesus, who is the bridge between heaven and earth, who is the promise that never breaks, who is the love that never fails, I pray, amen. Come home, beloved. The Father is waiting. The dock is ready. The mist is about to rise over the water, and there is a fishing rod with your name on it, and a thermos full of grace, and a Saturday morning that has been reserved for you since before you were born. The fish are biting. The sun is rising, and I have been keeping your place warm. Welcome home, little fisherman. Welcome home.